All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Wednesday. It's around 4 o'clock Pacific. It's time for Starfinder Wednesday. Today, we're going to continue our tradition here of talking to the authors in the Adventure Path series. And we had Crystal on, and we had...
Sutter.
Oh, yeah, Sutter. What a great show. And so we had Sutter on at first, then we had Crystal on, and now today we're on Volume 3 of the Dawn of Flame Adventure Path, and that brings us to Sundivers. And to do that, we've got Joe Pasini in the house, everybody. Joe, you're one of my favorite guests.
You're one of my favorite hosts of this show.
You know, out of all of them, I feel like I'm the one that's doing the best.
I agree.
But I think... The thing is, if you ever get a chance, you should, if you go to PaizoCon, which why wouldn't you go to PaizoCon? You want to be on one of Joe's games. Joe is incredibly funny, but he won't tell you that he is. But he's super, super funny. Now the pressure's on.
The pressure was already on. Can I just say that?
There's no pressure here. It's just a bunch of friends chatting. We're talking about a book that you wrote. So you know more about it than all of us do.
True.
So...
I thought I'd just read it front to back.
Everybody grab a beverage, get comfortable. We're having a reading from Joe Pasini. Hey, thanks for this. Thank you for using your Twitch Prime sub. I appreciate that. That helps the channel a lot. And we'll get into that in the Q&A section. Let's not bog it down. But thank you so much for the sub. Just got the second volume. Oh yeah, it's such a good series so far.
Yeah,
the Adventure Path has been really good. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on. I can't wait for you to show off the cover of the AP. Did you bring that with you? I don't see it.
Oh no, I didn't.
Darn it.
If only we had art from the cover
If only we had
show.
art for it. Well, you know what? How about that?
What?
Look at that.
Yeah.
I think that some of the art that you gave me is really amazing.
Yeah.
I think when you're doing that, because this is the cover.
This is the cover, which, I feel like makes it not such a heavy spoiler necessarily. If you've ever looked at the product page even, you would see this. One thing we do with all the covers for Adventure Paths is have this cool art on the background and then a really cool NPC over the background, meaning you can't quite see the full art. So I thought I'd bring that too.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah.
And it's...
won't comment on it too much, I think. But
Really? Oh yeah, you know what?
Just because
it's a sun bug. So this is what we'll say right up front.
Yeah.
This part of the show, we're gonna keep it pretty spoiler free, so it should be good.
Yeah.
Q&A, it might get a little spoilery just because we're 3 deep now.
Yeah.
We have to talk about something,
Yeah.
And so for this part, everybody should be fine. I hope you all stick around for the Q&A afterwards, those of you on Twitch, but it might get a little spoilery.
Sure.
Just FYI. Okay, so let's start with some of the standard questions, and everybody's got really different answers for this all the time.
Sure.
But what are some of the challenges of writing a volume for an adventure path that does not start the whole thing? Like you're coming in after James and Crystal have already worked their exquisite magic on the adventure path, which it's amazing work. Chris, we're getting heckled by Chris Sims,
developer for this adventure path.
Yeah,
thank goodness.
So once those are done, and I assume there's a little bit of working with them to get things moving ahead. What do you need to make sure of that you still get to create and still have fun, but also you're going to be limited? What are some of the traps of that whole thing for you?
Fortunately, most of that falls to the developer. Thank goodness. Sometimes I'm that developer, not on APs right now, but in other projects. But I think Crystal talked about this, where all the writers kind of at the same time get a big outline that has every volume of the AP in there. So you get the idea of what's going to be in the other volumes, what's come before you and what's come up. You don't get to see the cool stuff that James Sutter and Crystal Frazier. And by the way, again, pressure is on. I'm pushing back on that because that's those two, and then the person who wrote the volume after me is Ron Lundeen, all these huge hitters. And not only that, but when Chris Sims was handing out these assignments, I was like, ooh, this one has a casino, I want to write that one. And it turns out that I think, if I remember right, both Crystal and Ron were like, oh, I wanted to write that one. And I'm like, oh man, so now I have to do it justice to make them happy.
Well, see, you say it like that, but I'm like, well, this is just a series of heavy hitters that are coming in to create this really good adventure path, like the full boat,
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't want to say too much about it. I almost like spoilers, but
well, let's do this. Like you, and in fact, when I put up the announcement on Twitch for today's show, what we were doing, somebody even responded with talking about the casino.
Yes.
For anybody out there that might listen to Androids and Aliens, which I know I certainly do.
Yeah.
I know you certainly do.
Yep, sure do.
Is there anything that you want to address to Troy LaValle, who called us out so mercilessly when it came to Starfinder Adventure Paths?
Well, you know, they play a great game, and sometimes before they play, they talk for a little while.
Yes, they do.
And before one episode in particular, they were going on and on about a space casino and talking about, and Troy at the end was just like, Paizo writers, please make a space casino. I was like, okay, done. Several months ago, unfortunately. So it got to look like, you know, we're really like responding to the needs, but really, I think we just like cool stuff that our fans also like, so.
Joe, what I think you mean to say is when Troy said that, we circled the wagons and we said, we need to make Troy LaValle happy. And
completely rewrote the whole first part. There used to be no casino in there. We put it in.
So we put our best person on it. We said, Joe, make us a casino.
Find us the best person.
we need to make Troy LaValle happy.
Yeah.
And I hope we've done that. Boozle, thank you so much for using your Twitch Prime to subscribe to Paizo's channel. We really appreciate that. Hey, Krub, thank you so much. Thank you for the tier 1 subscription. 7 months, my goodness, it's amazing.
That's cool.
Okay, so when you know where Crystal's adventure path ends, you know, so you get that ending rope, as it were, and you're like, all right, I'm going to take this now. How much leeway do they give you? How much rope do they give you to play around with? Or is it? Because, and this is the reason I asked. By the time you get to 3, it's got to be. It seems to me like it would have to be very grooved. Like you have to follow a path.
Well, that's something kind of, I think, a little unique about this particular volume. I was talking to Chris Sims, the developer, before this, and he pointed out that it really is kind of nonlinear in a lot of ways. The PCs can decide what they want to do. You can take a lot of different routes to get to the same kind of point that we want you to get to. So especially with the casino, you can wander around in there, and I love putting in puzzles and mini games into everything,
right?
Just because I love that stuff. So there's a bunch. You can play casino games. There's a few social encounters baked into there that you can play around with, or you can skip it all and go. I mean, again, I don't want to say exactly what's going on, but there are a lot of options. And this is called the Sundivers, right? This volume. So I don't know if it's a spoiler to say that in the adventure set in the sun, you eventually go into the sun. What do you think?
Wow. Okay. Thanks for ruining the whole thing, Joe. It was fun. Thanks, everybody. We're done here. No, I mean, you know it's a sun-themed adventure path. Like Dawn of Flame, it puts it right up on Front Street. If it didn't involve going into the sun, it would be weird.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, especially if it's called Sundiver. Sundivers,
yes, plural. I forget that often.
Sorry.
Going back to your
blown.
Yes, sorry. Going back to your question, the outline had like the PCs need to go here, the PCs need to end up here, and have a chance to figure this thing out, and then go here. But all the in between is kind of left up to the author, and then reworked by the dev to make it really like even.
Yeah. Oh, so that actually does make sense. So you get to take it, create this story, create where it goes, and kind of figure out how things work, and then it goes to the dev team. Then they know that whole front to end path.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that help kind of shave off the sides and say, well, we can't do all of that and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Are you involved in that process at all? Because you are a developer.
Only in that I sit in the same cubes quadrant as the two doing it. So Chris will often turn to me and say, you know, like, oh, PCs are going to be mad about this. And I'm like, cool. I want emotional reaction to this stuff.
Right? Yeah.
And he also tells me about, you know, because while I'm writing the adventure, he's developing previous ones, learning more about, you know, the cool stuff that Crystal and James have put in, and then kind of reshaping some of the stuff I do to reflect back to that, so that's connected. And then he even tells me about the kind of, you know, in-world Easter eggs that he put, referring to stuff in my adventure in the future adventures. So, So I get to hear about all the hard work that goes on and be like, cool, my adventure is way better now. And I had to do nothing.
I like that. And there's nothing easier than doing nothing.
Absolutely.
So let me talk about the basic idea of what you can talk about with Sundivers. What kind of an overview can we give of this adventure path?
I don't know. The PCs start at 5th level, so some stuff has happened. And
that is true.
They have pretty broad goals, specific goals that they can approach, like I said, in broad ways, and that does bring them to a casino, which I think is fun. And like I said, there's mini games in there that you could probably use in some other adventure. I'm hoping Androids and Aliens will stop by there, and I'm watching our other friends doing Dawn of Flame, actual plays, waiting for them to get to my volume.
So then would they be able to actually spend time doing games of chance and maybe win some credits and all that kind of stuff? Like, it is legit.
Yeah, there's stuff going on there, and I'm focusing a lot on that, but that's just like part of part 1. And there's a lot of other cool stuff going on in there, including getting. I don't know how much I can. Finding a means by which to travel into the sun, which is pretty neat. I got to make up that too. Yes, transport.
You need something.
Some kind of ship or something.
I mean, they're not diving into the sun. Oh, wait.
And what would you call that ship? A sun diver, et cetera. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and then there's cool stuff in there.
So then when it comes to kind of talking about because it's the third, it's kind of right in the middle. There's a lot of stuff that happened that you can't really address just in case. There's a lot of stuff to come that you definitely can't address. So it's you're kind of stuck with very minimal descriptions. So can we get into, is it too spoiler to talk about settings? Like beside, we know they'll be in a casino.
No, that's a good point, actually, yeah.
What other types of environments could they find themselves in that they get to play around in?
Well, they're definitely in the Burning Archipelago, right? So the bubble cities that are in the sun are kind of near the surface of the sun. So they'll be back at the Brass Bazaar, which I hope was mentioned before. It's just one of the bubbles of the Burning Archipelago, right? Okay, cool. And then they'll be going to Verdion, which has not really been explored much elsewhere, mentioned in Pact Worlds, of course, but there's a big gaming complex there, which is where the casino is, and there's other stuff going on there too that you get to explore on your way there.
Okay.
And then you do go into the sun and you find something that no one has ever seen before. Well, almost no one has ever seen before. And something else that happens in this volume in particular is the PCs start to see what's really kind of going on, under which they got hints of the very first volume at the very beginning. Now they're going to start to see more and more of what's going on behind the scenes. Get a sense of the bigger picture of this whole AP.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
I know that, so I want to kind of give a little bit of background first, just so people know. Just to circle back around to GCP, Troy was able to write a monster for Bestiaire Gazetteer or something like that.
Okay.
It was some back matter, I think. And you were the one that was like, hey, do you think Troy wants to do this? And I was like, of course he wants to do this. Let me get him on the horn. And then kind of moving on to development in general. So just to let everybody know, that's kind of your thing. It's developing. Yeah. And when you kind of break away from that and say you author, like you write an adventure path, the volume of Adventure Path, what are some of the different things that you need to keep in mind as you approach that? And where does that separate from just doing development?
It makes it a lot harder because I respect my coworkers and don't want to give them something that's difficult to work with. If I could just lose the respect for my coworkers or one or the other, then I just feel like, this is good enough. They'll handle it. So
easy.
Yeah. And once I turn it over as a writer, I'm like, well, it's their job to, deal with what I've given them. But I do, I know what to look for in terms of what can be, I try to get the math right. I double check all my stats. I play test pieces of it to make sure that it's functional so that they still have to do it anyway. They still have to rebuild anything that I build. But
because you've been on the other side of that.
Yeah, and it just makes me more aware of it just makes me even more nitpicky of my own work. So I don't know.
Does that make you pull back in your creative process a little bit, or is it usually something you get over pretty quickly?
Not really. I do both. I put in my turnover, I put this wacky puzzle that, have you ever played Keep Talking and No One Explodes? It's kind of, it was themed on that, and Chris was like, this doesn't really work. I'm taking it out. And I was like, no, my beautiful puzzle. But it was the right call for sure.
Right.
And
because I believe Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes is the one where it's a 2-player game and you have a briefcase of some kind. Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, are there 2 batteries in it? And it's like, well, if there's 2 batteries, push the red button and different things like that. You're going to put that into an RPG element.
Basically, I was going to try. Like I said, I'm always trying to shove those things in there because I just think they're cool.
Do you think it worked? Or are you like,
I don't know. I'll have to find out. I still have it, so I can always just run it.
It'd be fun to play test that a little bit. You never know. All right, so really quick, I want to talk about we're going to get back into your process because I think that that's really fascinating. But one of the pieces of art you gave me is this fella right here.
Yeah.
What are we looking at there?
Well, this is an Osharu, who's a cool alien you can play as from Alien Archive 2. So I had to make a cool NPC, and I chose this. I don't want to say too much about this character, but I think they look rad, and I wanted to just show off as many slug people as I possibly can.
And that's very fair. I think the chat, Ms. Roy's now determined that this is Jellyfish Man. So
that's fair.
I like that. That's not bad at all. So now moving on into the process, let's say the developers get through with it and they've had to, hack and slash at some things and do all that. Does that now go back to you? Do you get a chance to fix your own thing, or is it out of your hands at that point?
Yeah, we try not to meddle in our affairs. We often, if a developer's working on something that someone in-house does, we'll talk to them. Like, what were you thinking with this? Like, what would, we need to rename this because you didn't Google that name and that's not going to work for whatever reason. So would you like, how's this name sound? Just as a courtesy, but it's not, we're done with it. Just like any other freelancer, once you give it to us, it's our job to make it work for a final product. So.
And I think that, it's kind of, it's more of an elegant design where it's like, I had my stab at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you get to take
100%.
It over and make all of it, because it just keeps going back and forth.
Well, yeah, we'd never ship anything to
that's true.
the other.
And then when it comes time to, and then when that's all done, it's finished, development's done with it, art gets applied, all of that stuff. Are you pretty much done with that thing from that point on? Is that pretty much out of your hands now?
As the freelancer, I'm done as soon as I turn it in, basically.
Right. Okay.
Although I have stress streams for a little while after, like, oh God, did I do that right? I'll even check my turnover, like, did I forget to stat that up? And usually the answer is no. Like, no, I did not forget. But it stays with me. There are people here in this company who write like multiple APs a year, and I don't know how they do it. It's quite impressive because it was a huge project for me personally. It's,
But so now these are multiple APs that are not connected either. They're just
different
all over
systems
the place.
even. Like, it's very impressive.
It's a talent. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
It really is. Thirsty is saying that Joe imitates my feelings on turnovers. Oh God, did I forget the thing?
Yeah. It's a real.
And that's because now, like you said, now development has to take care of it. Now it's their thing to do and all of that stuff.
Thirsty's also developed an adventure I wrote for Starfinder Society. He knows the pain of working on something that
I'm sure. Sure.
Thanks, Thirsty. Good job.
I think when all things are considered, I have the easy job. I just get to talk to you guys about how hard you work.
Sure.
I don't do that. Perfection is not expected. That's Chris Sim. Now, Chris Sim said that, so you should write that down.
That's after my turnover.
It's after the turnover. That's true. So now, once that part is done, are you able to work as a developer on the other volumes of that same AP, or are you kind of stepping out of that whole process?
So Owen and I kind of do the hardcover lines and other stuff right now, while Jason Keeley and Chris Sims do the adventure path volume. So they'll kind of trade back and forth the adventure and then all the back matter that's in there. So I'm trying to remember what your question was.
Are you still involved in development for the rest of those APs that come out?
Not me.
For the rest of the volumes?
Yeah, just because I'm not one of the AP developers. Like, we kind of have these little buckets that we're in right now.
Okay.
For no other reason than it's just smoother if the same people are working on the same AP.
Right.
Yeah.
So you know how this whole thing ends, or do you not know how the whole thing? You do know. Okay.
I looked it up before I came in.
Which is also really difficult because, especially if you know the whole arc and trajectory of the AP, how do you not tip your hand too soon? How do you know what I mean? Different things like that.
It can be. I mean, I like trying to add elements that will come in afterward, right? Like hints that aren't dead giveaways, but that give players who are paying extra attention, or even GMs, they're the ones reading every word, ostensibly, maybe.
Hopefully.
Well, maybe. Yeah, hopefully.
You never know.
But that's an opportunity to do cool stuff. So I think it's fun.
So then you said that you're actually running this game, this volume right now.
I'm playing in it, which is even better.
You're playing it.
So I was running a Starfinder game for 2 editors here, friends of mine, 2 editors and 2 friends that are outside the company. And we ran the first 2 volumes of Dead Sons. And then my AP happened to be done at just the right time that our characters could kind of move over. But I wanted to play it and want to run the thing.
Right.
But that kind of put us in a spot where I was playing, I wrote the thing. 2 of the editors had had read the thing and edited it, and then the GM, my friend, had also read the whole thing. So one of our players was the only person who didn't know the entire thing. And so for the first few sessions, we would all, like, when it came time to decide to do something, we'd all just like turn and look at her, and she was just like, "What are you doing? Like, I don't want to make every decision for this party." But I think she's.
But you kind of have to do that.
Yeah.
Because you know, and everybody else knows.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to it, you're just like, it's just all eyes on that one person. That could not have been fun.
It was fun for us. And the other fun thing is when the GM like mispronounces a name or something, the editors and I are like, actually that name is. It's fun for us, but I don't know why he hasn't like just thrown the book at us at this point, because I would not put up with that.
I do know that there, speaking of mispronouncing things and all of that sort of thing, some of the feedback I get quite a bit from Starfinder Wednesday and Pathfinder Friday from folks in the chat, and later on like YouTube and whatnot, are people saying, "Oh, is that how you pronounce that thing?" And I mean, that's one of the fun side effects of doing the show, is that, without really focusing on it too much, we're able to say, well, this is how we say it,
Yeah.
But,
even here, we don't say everything the same way. So people, it's a game. Like, decide what you want to call it in your home game, and you're good.
Yeah, I think even Jacobs and I have talked about that before, where it's like, well, this is how I say it, but I mean,
say it however you
whatever.
Want. I mean, I say envoy for the class in Starfinder, and I know a lot of people say envoy. Don't look knowingly at the. I'm not a freak.
I say envoy too.
All right, good.
I like envoy.
We say envoy
because then you can sing the song Convoy and put envoy in the words.
So we both like it, but for different reasons.
Oh. All right.
The other thing about that friend of mine who has to make all the decisions for us, it's been really gratifying to see her kind of go the directions that I was hoping, like putting, obviously when you're writing adventure, you're putting big neon signs like, do this thing, you should check this out, like it's really cool and you'll get experience and loot, right? But you can't guarantee anything. But for the most part, she'll like say, I wonder if that's this. And I'm like, yes. But then every now and then she's like, oh, I bet we're going to do this. And I'm like, oh, that would have been really cool. I should have written that in. Oh, well.
So really quick, because I respect the username so much. I demand pletiparians. Are you a Doshko? A Doshko? Where do you fall on that pronunciation?
I say Doshko.
I say Doshko too. Yeah.
Cool. We're not so different, you and I.
Yeah. Well, we'll go drinking later. And then when it comes to doing homebrew stuff, you obviously you work a lot about how to develop things and putting them all together. What are some of the lessons that you learn from your daily job that you've started putting into running those homebrews, running your outside of work campaigns?
That you don't have to be a slave to the written material. Yeah. Even for an adventure path, which is so helpful, it lays out so much for you. You can do whatever you want. And if you don't like a certain part of it, or if it doesn't work for your group, you just change it or skip it or do something else instead. And we are running the third volume of a different AP after running the first two of it first. Like, you can do anything, and knowing that the stuff we put out there is meant to support that. So like the numbers should work out, and the story structure should work out, even when you're kind of patching different APs together. Like, you can make it work if you want to. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I think that sometimes you listen to an actual play or a live play, a podcast, or watch a Twitch stream or whatever, and it's fun when people take the material, but then say, well, I know your character is doing this, so let's kind of diverge a little bit and include that backstory into there and kind of have a fun time, So I don't know. I like that kind of thing too. I think that's really important, and also, not to make too fine a point on it, but in a way, some of the rules, where it's like, well, the whole table hates to do X, Y, and Z, and it slows the game down. So it's like, all right, well, if everybody's in agreement, then let's just not do that thing, Yeah. I don't know.
That's super true. I'll say that as a developer who focuses on rules like all day. They're there to help you out, and if you don't like them, don't use them. It's like super.
We are coming up towards the end. I want to make sure that we show this though, because this is very important. We have the casino.
Back to the casino.
I love that artwork so much. It looks like a fun place to lose some credits,
And that's a Skittermander dealing out 6 cards at once with their 6 arms, like you do. I mean, that was like, I wanted that art from before I started writing the adventure. It's like, there's a casino? Okay, there's a Skittermander dealer, please.
You have to have that.
Yeah, and Chris agreed, fortunately, so here we are.
It's a great piece of art. I love that one. So I wanted to make sure to show that off. All right, and then It goes back to the beginning again, so we're not gonna show that part. All right, everybody. So let's do this. Let me do a goodbye,
Okay.
and then we will go and do some Q&A with the chat and everything like that. How do you feel about that?
A little sad. I'm gonna miss you. You've done a great job.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Let me do this. So everybody, just so maybe you've heard, maybe you haven't heard, this is my last Starfinder Wednesday, and it's very bittersweet. I'm glad that I got to go out on a high note with Joe Pasini. I will be back for Pathfinder Friday, but after that, we've got something else happening, and I don't know if I can give you everything because I don't think it's quite figured out yet. We're working on a few plans that Paizo has going so that they can kind of fill the gap that's going to be coming. But for the most part, I'm sure that they're going to find somebody to come in and sit right here at this couch and do just as good of a job as I have. I want to say thank you for being a part of my day twice a week. I'm going to be back once a week producing and working behind the scenes for Oblivion Oath. So I'll be back once a week for the short term. And but in the meantime, it's been so fun coming in and chatting with you guys and having a fun time with the chat and growing the channel. And it wouldn't have happened if you guys didn't join me every week. And so thank you so much for that. And so in the meantime, for Paizo and for Joe Pasini and for the last time, I'm your old buddy Dan. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again. Bye.